Blog Talk Radio.
Hey everybody, it's your girl Sunny D. Welcome to tonight's show. Guys, you want to say hi?
What's up, good people? It's your boy Clint. You already know. Get at me.
What up, though? It's your boy Willie Styles. Glad to be here.
Yes.
Glad to be able to stay on after the intro.
Shut up. Definitely. Anyway, today is April 2nd. I'm not April 2nd. Oh, Jesus, Lord.
Look at you. Look at you.
Let me say, the longest day I had, forget you. Today is April 12th, 2018. If you guys are listening right now, you're on blogtalkradio.com/GFT radio show. If you're listening later, that's where we did the podcast originally, live. I got a funny story to tell before we actually start the show. Willie, I wore your shirt last week to work, and everybody that said something to me was like, "What up, though?" I was like,
Yes.
I was like, "Who says that?" And I had to explain to them, "You're my podcast, blah, blah, blah." So speaking of that, y'all go over to Teespring, get y'all some merchandise at teespring.com/stores/GFT radio. Get y'all merchandise, rock it, post a picture, let us know you wearing our stuff, and you'll appreciate our podcast.
Yeah, and like you said, you're gonna get all the looks. Everybody's gonna be noticing you.
Yeah.
And you wearing your GFT radio show merchandise.
Yeah, because especially my petty shirt, people love that shirt. I tell them where to get it.
That's a good one too. That's a real good one.
No, Clint, this, that, and the third. That's my shirt, and he has that as his Instagram picture. I like that. I'm like, all right,
yeah,
Clint,
actually,
all right.
yeah. I was about to say, yeah. Actually, I got asked about that one. Somebody was like, "Hey, yo," I was like, "What up?"
A lot of people like the idea of how we made the shirts. Like, they're like, "Do you have logos?" I'm like, "Yeah, we have logo shirts too." But like, just listen to our podcast. This is some of the stuff that we always say, and you just try to put it into a shirt because it once it becomes a common jargon, people kind of pick it up. Like, they pick it up and they're like, "Oh," I'm like, "Stop saying what up though." Like, I had Caucasian people saying what up though. It sounded a little different than what Willie says, and I was like, "Oh, okay." And they was like Joe, like as Doe and a deer. Like, I'm like, no, not like Doe a deer, not that. It's like, what's up, Doe? But it's like slang, so it's Doe. No, all right, so you don't. Okay, don't worry about it.
Right. Don't worry.
I'm trying.
You're trying to do it for the culture. You're trying to get it.
I'm trying to help them, like, because they want to know and they're curious about a lot of our slang words. So you try to educate them. Like, this is what it is. It's a Detroit slang. Let me tell you. But definitely let's get this. We got a great show for you tonight. I think Clint brought this one up.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess it was a collaborative effort. I just thought about it because we mentioned it during one of our previous shows about the Devontae Hart,
Yeah.
excuse me.
Yeah.
About the adopted family, the two lesbian ladies, white, adopted Devontae and 2 or 3 of his siblings, and I guess they had a couple other kids too. And they drove them off a cliff.
Aren't some of them missing?
No, well, they feared to be dead. I was reading an article yesterday, and they said they found a body. They didn't give a description yet. They didn't identify the body yet, but they did find another body along the shoreline. So they're going to get some divers out there. I guess they're kind of waiting for the waters to die down a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, to calm down. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And
well, before we jump all the way into the show, I want to give out the number because I forgot my absent mind rushing to talk about other things. I want to give out the phone number and our Twitter handle. So if you guys listen to the show, you want to comment, call in 657-383-1155. If you're on Twitter, at GFT_radio, using the hashtag GFT radio.
I'm live tweeting on there right now. Make sure y'all hit me up. I'm on there right now.
Yes. But go ahead, Clint. I'm sorry to rush your train of thought.
No, it's good. So I was reading an article today. I guess, so what we're talking about is...
Oh, yeah, I didn't know what the hell we were talking about.
Yeah, so we're talking about what we need to protect our kids and the responsibility of the parents, families, the system, child protective services, all these different, all these different entities, including us as well. I think the parents are the front line, and what this story about those particular kids, you'll find out, their parents failed them first before the system was even involved. You feel me? So before we even blame the system about things or what they should have did, their mother failed them.
Absolutely.
And their father. You feel me? Their mother was a crackhead. You feel me? In and out. She was well known by the dice and stuff like that. She had the kids taken away from her. She had about 7 kids. Understand? You feel me? So it was more than just Dante and the siblings that was murdered by these 2 adoptive parents. It was other kids. So immediately, the responsible person was their mother and their father. To the father, they had reports of him paying child support at one point, but obviously he was a no good boy himself because they didn't feel him deemed he could take care of the kids.
Yeah.
Now, when you get to the system, when the kids was taken away from the mother, her parental rights were terminated. They were actually with their aunt. You feel me? And it was a stipulation while they was with their aunt that they can't have contact with their mother. And from what I read was she was at work one time and her biological daughter was watching the kids, and just so happened their mother stopped by, and just so happened, a pop-up visit from CPS also. So they immediately took the kids. Yeah, so they immediately took the kids from the aunt. Now the lawyer in the situation for the aunt, they jumped the gun, they rushed it. The mother, the aunt moved into a bigger house. She did everything she could to accommodate the kids. That was her only minor infraction. And so they just jumped. So the lawyer felt like they jumped the gun and they took the kids. So that's where it felt like the system failed them as well. Because the aunt didn't have previous records. She was employed. She was settled down, and she only had the one daughter, I believe. So they could have. I felt like it would have been best to keep them kids with family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
With family. Exactly. Yeah.
But they were so gung ho into rushing them and trying to get them into what they thought was a better situation, and that decision ended up costing them their lives. Because and with those parents, how they further with the how those agencies further failed the kids was those adoptive parents had multiple infractions in different states, multiple reports of abuse in different states. I think going back to like 2010.
Wow.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. Is that they had the initial issue. I believe it was in Oregon and then or Washington State rather, in Washington State, and then they had started moving around as they were getting more infractions, and this was either the 3rd or 4th by the time that the neighbors called with the allegations about the kids coming over not being fed and not being properly taken care of. So
yeah.
They were definitely running every time they had a chance.
I feel like the system is retarded because in situations like that where you could have protected a kid, and then look at situations where parents are trying to get their child, like the other guy who the mom and the boyfriend ended up killing the baby, the little girl.
Yeah.
It's like in that situation he was fighting to get custody of his daughter, but they make it so hard. Like I'm not all dads aren't bad dads. But I think it's harder for a father to take custody from a mom. But at the same time, if you know that if he's trying to take custody, well, in some situations, some people are just on different wavelengths. But I would like to believe that for some cases, they really trying to get them for like a legitimate reason, like they really feel like their child is in danger because look at the mom as the nurturer and the person that carries the baby and has more of a bond, but then sometimes it's not like that, and sometimes the mom is not the best parent for the child.
Yeah,
and you have to kind of look at that and see.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. You know, but like before in my mind, before we even get that far as to, you know, the courts making it harder for the father and this and that, and the third, it's more so
that and the third.
You gotta start with the parents.
Yeah.
You feel me? You gotta start with the parents. You know, I've been through a little tumultuous relationship with my child's father. You know, but at some point, you know what I mean, love for your child gotta supersede whatever emotions or whatever conflicts y'all had prior, and that will come. You feel me? In order for you to co-parent efficiently and effectively. You know what I mean? So my thing is, the parents, before we get there, we should have that. And sometimes even when you do try your best and put your best foot forward, it may not even work out. You may got to go the court route. But I always feel like start with the parents. Everybody should make sure they're legit, because if the mom doing good and the dad doing good, at the end of the day, that's going to help the daughter or the son.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's going to be no, you know what I mean? Nobody loses in that situation.
Right.
Nobody loses.
Right.
So, but it's too many people having kids to where, you know, like Brother Willie mentioned it on the pic I had put up that you brought up about the parents. Well, that I posted on our two parents. Well, the mom and the step, I guess her boyfriend or whatever, they savagely beat the kid because he spilled something or whatever. I mean, so like people really, some of these people are savages. You feel me? And it's a lot of savages out here having kids.
Mm-hmm.
So then that's where things get muddled and like how you how you police that. You feel me?
Right.
Like you can't tell people not to have kids, not to have sex. You feel me? That's a slippery slope when we start deeming people who can have kids. But at some point, you know what I mean? Like it starts with the parents. So a lot of these kids are born into like, for a better word, fucked up situation.
Right. I mean that was my thing about that story you posted earlier about the two that beat that. I think he was only 4 years old, and you know what got to me was the fact that the mother was also pregnant with another baby at the time.
That's crazy.
Child, and you know, and that's what hurt me was to think about. You know, I was just looking at some articles regarding the April Fool's jokes, and I don't know if you guys saw that. There was an article about some different people making jokes about or doing little tricks on their social media saying, oh, you know, expecting a new edition and all that kind of stuff. And they were getting a lot of backlash because, especially some movie stars that did it too. And they were getting a lot of backlash because people are saying, hey, you know, that's insensitive to people who can't have children, who had, you know, miscarriages, who had, you know, child death, that kind of thing. And, you know, and you know, it hit me that quick to think that this mother took it upon herself to take her own child's life and try to cover it up, of course. And she's got another child in her stomach, you know, and it's like, you really, you know, are the epitome of evil, and you're about to bring another child into that evil. You know, it's like it just don't stop. Like you said, Clint, you know, they're born into these situations that, you know, they in a world that they shouldn't have to be a part of, and a situation that they shouldn't have to be a part of, you know, especially when you think that a lot of times it's because these people either don't want kids, but they're having them anyway, or they have kids. And that's what I thought about this today was, because there's a similar case to this, is that there was a situation where a mother was dating a guy, and she allowed the guy to abuse and eventually kill her child from her ex-husband or her previous relationship, because she was pregnant with his child. And she was pregnant with his child because he didn't want any other children in the way when his child came over. So I mean, the sheer treachery of that, like you said, being savages and being just evil, it's it's out there, and it kind of made me wonder if that was a similar situation to that case with the young lady and her boyfriend killing that baby.
Yeah,
It's
but
like,
that's crazy. I get it as maybe not with the child's parent or stuff like that, other parent, but it's just like I look at it from a mother's standpoint of view. Like that's crazy to me. Even though I've witnessed deadbeat moms, I've witnessed those type of neglectful parents, and especially moms. That bothers me more because it's like you carried this child for 9 months at best. You bond like that's the different type of bond. And for you to go through the labor, have that child, raise that child up, only to kill your own child or allow someone that's in your circumference that's supposed to love you kill your child and you do nothing to protect your child, that's mind-boggling to me. Like there's no way for me personally that I would ever let that happen. Like I'm like I said it on the previous podcast. Like I said, my kids are always first, and whoever I'm with gonna have to understand that. Like at the end of the day, I'm gonna make sure that they're number one. And they're always gonna be taken care of, and I'm always gonna protect them. And I'm not gonna allow anybody to come in my situation that has an issue with them, don't like them, like make them feel like they make them ever feel like they shouldn't be here. None of that. Like this is a part of me. So if you're gonna love me, you're gonna love everything there is about me, including my kids. I'm not going to have to choose my kids or you over my kids, and to the point where I'm allowing you to harm them.
mm-hmm.
That's crazy. And even if I was in a situation where I found out that somebody I was dating or seeing was harming my kids, you would no longer be around. Like that's not acceptable to me. I'm not going to chalk that up or keep it like situations like that where people keep these people around in the family because they don't want to, they don't want that kind of disdain on them. Like this is crazy. Right. People need to know that your kids you are their protector. You cannot. And you cannot because you understand that if they survive that, they got to process that.
It's important to raise your kids because a lot of people. I made another post on my page on IG, and it was a lot of kids weren't raised; they were tolerated. You feel me? They were just put in front of a TV, gave a Capri Sun, and left to their own devices. They weren't really raised. And it goes back to what Billy mentioned earlier. A lot of these, parents, they really don't want children.
And that's crazy. If you don't want children, don't have them.
A lot of them want, I know a lot of mothers who like the show. You feel me? Like the to where it looks good. I've seen this growing up. Seen mothers do this. Fathers too. But they wanted to make it look good in public, like they just good parent, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You feel me? Kid probably got nice clothes or latest gadget, but they're not really raising their kid. They're not spending with their kid. They're not teaching their kid nothing.
Right.
You feel me? They're basically neglecting their child, trying to pay off.
Right. So I think that brings up a question. Then is who monitors or who should be next to be responsible for the protection of those children when there is this mask or this cloak and dagger that's going on with these half-ass parents or these people who are look at the pictures of Devontae Hart's family. They're smiling, they're happy. This is only a couple of years after the last report from 2011 of Sarah Hart's beating one of the kids and having marks all over the kid's stomach, and there was another report of a neighbor saying that they constantly heard big fights between the parents, between the two mothers. So but you see them in social media. That you see them in social media smiling and happy and everything, like you said, Clint, for show, right? And then you see even worse situations where kids are being beaten, sexually abused, being told to keep these family secrets, and you get the for show pictures, you get the for show, displays. But like you said, Sonny, go ahead, Sonny, go ahead with your comment about that.
I think that as a parent, or if any of my family members were slacking in the parent department, I'm going to tell you about it, and I'm going to address it. If I feel like you're not fixing it, I'm going to remove I'm going to protect the child, because that's like, as if I'm love you and I care about you, I'm going to take you out of that situation because it's a negative situation that you don't need to be in. And in the same, and I think as a family member, if you see your loved one and you see this and you know that it's not right, you have a responsibility to protect the child, period. And if it means going the extra mile and having to go above and beyond, where getting the courts involved or getting diapers and stuff like that and stuff involved, if it means protecting the child, then that's what you should do, period. Because at the end of the day, somebody has to care enough about that child and not care. Because at that point, I don't care how you feel. I don't care if you suck, you fucking suck, and I'm not gonna let you take somebody I care about down. So I'm gonna take them out of that situation and do what I need to do. Because now it's different if you don't, that person, like say if you see a kid and they're just they don't have family, they don't have anybody to help. Then as a neighbor, like these neighbors, you saw this happening, make phone calls. Because sometimes family is not in close proximity. You need to make phone calls and figure out how to fix it. Like I look at that. I say that because, like, in certain situations where you see, like, if you're out and about and you see these kids running wild or whatever, like that, people don't care. People have lost their caring ability. Like, I'm like, no kidding, because one day I was in the store with my son and he got loose and he ran. Clint, you know how my son runs. He's running through this store. It's a big ass store, and we are looking frantically for him. Nobody in that store said anything. He's here. Oh, I'll get him. Nothing. People don't care. They see it and don't react. You need to.
You know why? Because it's been, people don't got backlash for that. You feel me? It's like, how they say back in the day, it took a community to raise a child. Right. So you couldn't do something. I couldn't do something, and it was facts. I couldn't do something on my block when I know the neighbor across the street, if she see me, she gonna tell my grandma and my mom.
Yeah.
You understand? And it was accepted.
It's not like that anymore.
It's been stopped being like that because parents, you can't tell their parents nothing about their kids no more.
That's true too.
When parents come to the school, their kid was in a dead wrong, but just because that's their kid, they're gonna take their kid's side. You know what I mean? So.
Oh, I've seen that too.
So,
I think that reflects poorly on the parent. But then like we said at the beginning, that reflects onto the parent. Like, you can't, as a parent, if my child's wrong, they're wrong. Point blank. Period. If you have to kind of even you got to the point where some relatives can't even check a kid because you mad because it's your kid. Like, your kid is wrong. Period. We're gonna address it. If you're not gonna, and then you got parents that don't, like you said, don't address the issue and let it keep going on. But I just think, like, when there's situations where it's a kid involved and it's a situation where you need to protect the child, you should step in. If you're close to that family, you need to step in. And if not, if you don't want to physically step in, then you make a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And get somebody else to step in, because at the end of the day, how would you feel? Like, say if your next door neighbor was beating their kid ass every day, you just knew, every day you could hear it through the walls. It's just going all through the house. You can hear it every day. And that child ended up dead somewhere. You're going to feel bad because you're going to be on the news saying, oh, yeah, I heard next door, blah, blah, blah. Like, but what did you do? You know?
Yeah, true.
You have to have some accountability. If you hear stuff, you need to kind of make up. If you don't want to get involved, call the police, call child protective, call somebody.
Yeah, I was about to say. I think a lot of times nowadays, I mean, that's the scary part, right? Is that I think some people but one going back to your point, Clint, that they're not only desensitized, but they're also we're now conditioned to not care, right? We're either conditioned to be quiet or conditioned to not care. But then also there's a scary situation of when you step in and get involved, you may not get the outcome you were looking for. You know, we've seen people go and try to help domestic violence victims and get killed in the process. You know, we've seen
we
people
talked about that too.
Yeah, we've seen people go and try to, step in with kids and get cussed out or get they get dragged because they try to step in and do what's right and are told that they have gotten out of into something that they didn't have their nose, they shouldn't have their nose in, that kind of thing, So I think that's one of the biggest problems. But I think you're right. We still need to care. We still need to do something, step up, and making that call to CPS or making that call to one of the protective systems should be made. Calling the police when there's violence, that kind of thing. So, so you said you got a call. So let's get this.
Yeah, hold on, guys. Calling you on the line. GFT Radio.
Greetings, my people. It's Sapphire. How you guys doing?
Hi, Sapphire.
Hey, what's going on, Sapphire?
Sapphire, we missed you. How you been doing?
Yeah, long time.
I miss you all too, but I've been listening. I want you to know that.
Wonderful.
Appreciate you.
Okay, now, as it relates to this conversation, I've been listening, and it just breaks my heart. I'm so glad that you all are bringing this to the forefront. It's a very necessary conversation. And I have a question for you all, and please think about it before you answer. Mm-hmm. If we were to try to give a solution for this, because like you all have said, it's a thankless job to try and intervene when you know that parents don't have the necessary parenting skills to raise children. We see that all the time in our community, if we're going to be honest with ourselves. But if we were to try and give a solution and get to the source or the gist of what is causing this to manifest, what would you say the solution might be, or a solution that might alleviate some of this?
Ooh, that's a
that's a good one.
That's a tough one. You feel me? Because I'm sitting here, I've been thinking about that too. Like I said, when Willie mentioned before about, people just any old body can have kids, and I really believe, like everybody shouldn't be allowed to have kids. And I'm somebody who's, personally, I never believed in abortion unless a woman was raped or her life was on the line and stuff like that. You feel me? I never believed in abortion. But
I stand with you on that. I have the same. Yeah, I have those. I believe in those same principles. But when you say that everybody shouldn't be allowed to have children, then we're stepping on people's right,
unfortunately,
to procreate. But I want you all to think about this. We think this in the deepest crevices of our mind and our hearts, but we don't say it because we know people are going to beat us over the head for it. But in the Black community, we need to start teaching abstinence. We need to make abstinence cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
We need to let people know you can't win this war on the Black man by having babies and having more people in the earth than other people. You cannot win like that. Mm-hmm. The quality of the child's life is at the utmost importance. And if we cannot convey this message to our people, then we're going to keep having this struggle. And so we need to make abstinence cool. We need to understand that our having children, and we're not ready and prepared, is a business for other folks.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
The prison system.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Exactly. The prison system, the school system. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think this though, because I think in a sense I agree with what you're saying. I do, but for my case in particular, and then I want to say something else too. But for me, for me in my life, I absolutely was not ready to have my daughter at all. I was much prepared to have my son well done before I had my daughter. But I will say this: when I did get pregnant with her, I didn't really have my mom was like a good help to me, but she didn't I couldn't she wasn't doing everything for me. It was solely she taught me how to raise my daughter without her being completely hands on. So I had to learn the hard way. But at the same time, I took it and ran with it because in my mind, and even though I was 18 when I got pregnant with her, in my mind, okay, so I did this, now I have to own up to my responsibility, and I'm gonna do what I can for her. And that's exactly what I did. Anything that at that point for me, it was I always had a job. I always made sure that I was doing something. I was always striving to move better. Not everybody does that.
But
and then on top of that, I had got on the system at one point in time for a very short point in time, and got what I needed, and then moved on. And I had it on there since. But for the people that's repetitively, hold on. But for the people that's repetitively in the system and still procreating, I have a problem with that because you haven't got your life together, period, for the first child you had, let alone having more, and you still can't do for yourself. That's a problem for me. But I also think that I'm all for practicing abstinence and telling these kids, you shouldn't have kids because, it's hard. It's not easy. This is not simple. It's a hard job to do. And you constantly, everything is different. It's no manual on how to raise kids. But I also think that because realistically, people have kids regardless of what we say to them. But I just think that it should be some type of counseling or some type of thing that they can go to learn how to budget, how to prepare to maintain the household now that the kid's there, and learn some type of go to school and if they're not already in school to learn a trade so they can have a job to maintain the household, because a lot of people having babies and going on the system, and that's not cool, because first of all, to me personally, the system is set up to not help you. It's to keep you stuck in that era and stay on it. And I don't understand how, like I said, I know people that was on, their parents were on welfare and their whole life was welfare. Even as an adult, you're my age, 35, about to be 35, and you've been on welfare for all your life. That's too much. What is that? That's a fucking career at that point. You don't want nothing for yourself. You ain't trying to do nothing. You just want to, that's what you stuck at.
And I think
I don't
that's the point she's trying to make.
Get stuck there. Yeah.
But what I wanted to say to you, I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, I think that's the point we're trying to make, that we need about quality of life. We need to preach quality of life first. You know what I mean? Before we even get to teaching kids about sex. I think, we had a show about, are we over sexualized society? Yeah. You feel me? We did a show on that.
Exactly.
And I feel as though that we are. We are overly sexualized society. Everything is based off sex. Sex sells. And kids see that. It's everywhere. We have to stop that. Like you said, we need to teach them how to budget and all that. But while we teaching sex should come later. They shouldn't even be thinking about that.
Exactly.
You feel me? They shouldn't even be thinking about that. So, I think, I agree with it. We really, that need to be coached first. We need to do need to change the curriculum in schools. You know what I mean?
I definitely agree.
You feel me?
And then as parents, like we said before, we talked about that as parents. You need to talk to your kids because they're going to sex ed, and as parents, you need to talk to them. Period. You shouldn't just. Some people just leave it up to sex ed. I know growing up, my mom didn't talk about sex. You couldn't ask her about shit. You couldn't talk about it, have questions about it, because if you did, you were assumed to be having it. I think as parents, we need to always have that conversation because that's very important. Look, this is what can happen. Not only, and then I think people get stuck on getting pregnant. It's so much more than getting pregnant that can happen.
Yeah, I know, right.
And people just think the worst shit is, oh, I'm pregnant, I got to tell my mom. No, STDs are real. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm. And I think, go ahead, Sapphire. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. What I wanted to say was, when the sister was speaking, and she talked about how she was able to recover and still be a great parent to her children. See, we are not talking about you.
Yeah, I know.
Okay? We're talking about people who are, like you said, many people say, oh, I'm pregnant, this is the problem is, how am I going to take care of this baby? No, the primary problem is, are you mentally equipped for parenthood? That's the primary thing.
That's a great
so
question.
So like the brother said, if we teach these children, look, it is a beautiful thing to be a virgin at 23. Beautiful.
Yes.
I mean, you are the boss. You, excuse my expression, are the shit. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
if we can instill that
the best thing since sliced bread.
while they're abstinent, then we need to teach them how to budget. See, because once they can control and manage their very own lives, and they've been doing it like on a job, and they have experience, then 15, 10 years down the line, they can consider having a child. And then guess what? By then, they're more prepared if they have to be a single parent. Hopefully they won't, but if they do, we've already instilled in them integrity, how to budget, how to get yourself a career or a business or a job or whatever it is that you're trying to do. We have already instilled the integrity in you. Because what we are concerned about is the male aspect. And I want to bring this to you all's attention. Another reason we need to teach abstinence is because we need to get together and find out who amongst us are willing to take the fallen children, the children of degenerate parents. Because I'm going to tell you something. I saw something that made my blood boil. Charlize Theron, do you guys know who she is? This South African actress?
Yep.
When I see her parading this little boy around with a blonde wig on and dresses, I never see him in boys' clothing. He always has on a dress and some kind of stupid girl's hat. And then she put him on the Frozen hat, which is a cap with a blonde braid going down his back with bangs like a girl, with a jumper dress on and sandals, all of this for a girl. When I saw that, I'm going to tell you guys something. If I saw her in public, they would probably arrest me because my expression, I got to go here. I would have read that bitch the riot act. Why would you adopt a boy if you want to turn him into a girl? Now, I'm going to tell you what one of my family members said, something very deep he said to me. I told him that she was mocking us. He said, no, you don't see the deeper truth. She wanted a girl, and she wants children that she can rule over, but because she has issues with black women, she didn't adopt a black girl. She adopted a black boy to make into a black girl. I want to know what you guys think about this, because Russia has stopped Americans from adopting their children. So has Ethiopia, but Nigeria, Tanzania, and these other Kenya, they just give people children with open arms, and these children are organ harvesting. I've seen it time and time again, that Chinese couple that adopted 2 black girls and killed them for the purpose of harvesting their organs. And when you talked about the lesbian couple that drove the kids off the cliff, if you guys notice, they never talked about the funeral. They never talked about anything else. How do we know that was not organ harvesting? You're talking about for 3 female children, black at that, you're talking about at least $1 million. Who couldn't create a story for that? I'm just saying, don't call me a conspiracy theorist. I want you guys to
but that whole the way they was doing that whole thing, it was shady as hell. Cause they were like, even the whole crime, they were talking about it like it was just this accident. Oh well, like no, had that been a black person doing something like that, he would have been a murderer. I don't know.
Yeah, it like I totally agree with you. Is with these these agencies and these type of adoptions. That Charlize Theron, when I seen that pissed me off too. I already know what she was trying to do. You feel me? We already know they're trying to emasculate the black man. So like that's obvious. You feel me? That's why she got that little boy walking around here like a little girl. You feel me? Like he probably has no concept. no concept of like how a boy's supposed to act. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because we got into this, we done got into this time period to where we want to say we all the same, and we're not. We're different. Male and females are different. You know what I mean? Physiologically different, mentally different. However you want to go, we're just different.
Yeah.
You feel me? And that goes to raising your kids too. You know what I mean? Like, we have to raise our sons to have a high level of respect for the females. We have to raise our daughters to have a high level of respect for the males. I think that's what's missing too.
They were being raised as if you don't need a man.
Yeah, and you know what I mean? And boys are being raised and women ain't shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's that constant cycle. So there is no love in the community, really. You know what I mean? We always talking about there's really no love. You feel me?
Right.
That's one of the things.
That's one of the issues.
That's one of the issues. It is just sex. You feel me? Like, we just a bunch of hyper. You know what I mean? People just want sexual relationships. They don't really want to be in love. They don't really, you know what I mean? Like, and this is what you get. These situations are what we get. And then we want to look to the system to save everybody. The system don't give a damn about you. You feel me? The system is set up to save itself.
Would you guys say it was wrong if someone were to say, and I'm using the scenario, I'm actually talking about myself. I was talking with a group of people, and I said, in my righteous mind, I feel like in our community, we have a lot of people who are not supposed to be here. And those people do a lot of things that they are not supposed to do. Now, what am I saying here? If you're not mentally ready to have a child and you don't have your finances and situations in order, and you have a child and you have a bad attitude and the child is picking up this toxic energy, and then that child lashes out on some innocent person. But when we think about it in actuality, that child should not have come into manifestation at that time in that person's life, or maybe not at all. So can you all agree with that some people, we keep saying, well, everybody has a right to be born, or it's not their fault they were born. No, it's not their fault that they were born. But they were not supposed to be here because the environment that they were born into was toxic, and they are now toxic. So can we accept that as fact and move forward to letting people know who are toxic that you probably shouldn't have children if you're going to be scarred for life from the damages that you have gotten? I just want to know what you guys think.
I mean, if I understand you correctly, then I think what you're basically saying is we're basically identifying people who are going to have a pattern, right? Who are going to end up falling into a pattern of either abuse, toxicity, continuing to fall into a trait, right? And I think that becomes challenging because, again, we're still talking about basic human rights. That like you said, stepping on those, people are going to backlash back to us like, you can't do that, right? But I definitely agree that there's those warning signs and those issues that you come from should be your warning that you shouldn't continue this cycle, right? If you know that you were, in a pattern of abuse and you haven't gotten over that, bringing a child into that same pattern is probably a bad idea, right? And it's not to say, I think I like to ride this fence of I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I want to say the right thing too. You know what I mean? So just forgive me when I do this back and forth. But basically, what I'm trying to say is, I think people do need to realize they need, like you said, Sapphire, they need to realize they shouldn't continue this pattern. I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to never have kids, but I think you shouldn't be bringing a kid into any kind of situation when you haven't figured that situation out for yourself. You know what I mean? So if your parents like I kind of went through that when I was a young man. My parents, they argued all the time, and they were very emotionally and psychologically abusive to each other in the way that they dealt with each other, right? And I always felt like I didn't want to be married in a situation like that, and I also didn't want kids in a situation like that. So I recognized the problem, but some people don't. They still get into these relationships that are similar to what they saw as a child, and they continue that pattern of being abusive verbally, psychologically, and so on. And then, you see that all the time with the physical abusers, the ones that get physically abused as kids and they physically abuse their mate or their children as adults. Sexual abusers, same thing, right? So they get into these patterns because they haven't, figured out the issues they grew up in and how to get over or through that, right? And they continue that pattern. They are the ones, and I feel like you're right, Sapphire. They need to be level set and saying, look, you don't need to get into a relationship or have a child or have these situations that will continue this pattern because it's not right to the people you're affecting. But we know broke people, other people, right? We know that for a fact. Unfortunately, they're the main ones that go out there and they seek these relationships. They seek the continued drama, or they seek the situations and scenarios that this pattern. They know how it works, and they put themselves in that situation, unfortunately. And it's sad, but it's something that I think you're right. I think it needs to either be looked upon or monitored, and as a family member, I've told one of my family members before, look, your mother raised you in a welfare house, and you're living in a welfare house at this point. Why bring kids into that? You're not ready to have kids. It doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Or have more kids. I mean, they had a kid already by the time I mentioned this to them. But I'm like, look, this is crazy. You shouldn't continue. You don't even have a GED or a high school diploma, and you want to continue this pattern. It's not right to the kids. It's not right to yourself. That was a great point about the quality of life that you mentioned earlier. People need to think about what kind of quality of life are you giving yourself, let alone a child that does not deserve this heartache. So I think that you got a great point. I mean, it's a hard thing to say. It's a hard hard truth that has to be realized, but it needs to be said. It needs to be done, right?
Yeah, I feel like if you know you ain't shit, you shouldn't have no more kids. Period. Mm-hmm. Like if you had a kid and you're a father and you just didn't want to be a deadbeat, then don't be knocking nobody else. Go to the doctor, get yourself snipped up so you can't have any more kids to be a deadbeat too. Or if you an ain't shit parent, just don't have no more kids. Just go get it taken care of and don't have no more. Because why? Why fuck up everybody else like that? You ain't got your shit together. Just don't have no more.
Right.
Like you tried once,
isn't
it didn't work out for you. No more.
Isn't it a noble thing to not have an abortion because you are not getting pregnant? Isn't that nobler?
Yeah.
I think it's a noble thing. Yeah, to for a woman to say, listen, I'm 25 years old and I have never been pregnant and I have never had any abortions. Now that doesn't mean she has never had sex. You see what I'm saying?
But she's been smart about it or taking precautions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what we can surmise is that maybe she is strict about contraceptives and having protected sex if she is having it. And the other thing is this: we don't like to tell people the truth. Do you know what I tell the very young and teenagers? If you're going to have a baby, you're going to have to put your dreams on a shelf. Mm-hmm. If you're wearing Jordans and you're under the age of 35 and you have babies, I consider you to be the enemy. I consider that to be evil. because firstly, no, I know you guys are laughing, but I'm serious.
Yeah, we seriously laughing.
Like,
we know you're serious because we're serious about it too. That's it's just funny to hear somebody verbalize that, right? To hear somebody really say it. Like this is true. This is the fact.
And we don't want them to hurt the children because many people get in situations and they will kill the child, infanticide. It doesn't happen a lot in our community, but it happens enough. But if we could let them know, now listen, not before they get pregnant, but after they get pregnant, we can let them know we have some nice families. We have a list of nice families who want to take this baby. They are financially stable, and they can give the baby what a child needs. Cannot. I'm talking about black folks. See, we've got to get to that point where we realize the quality of life is paramount to what you're trying to do, trying to be somebody's boo, trying to earn a man. You see what I'm saying? Trying to lay pipe all over town. You know what I'm saying? We need to start telling those people, you're the devil. You're running around having unprotected sex and you don't have a job. You are the enemy. You are the reason we have a poverty problem. If you're a woman and you're having babies and you have no means for support and you are not in a conjugal relationship where the two of you are mentally ready, I'm not saying people have to be, the pinnacle of society. Right. I'm saying that you just need to know that, okay, if you're a couple, you all had some years of understanding under your belt. Because even as a young couple, and you guys are in college or somebody's just working at Walmart, the other one at McDonald's, and you have a baby, you're still the devil. Because you can't raise a baby on that. And many people will say, but that's the only job.
Sometimes even with two people having good, okay job, it's like I told my best friend she just had a baby, and I was like, it's like, and I'm so happy for her because I know she's excited she can take care of the baby, like she has it together and stuff like that. But I tell her, like, you understand that once you become a parent, it's a lot of stuff that change, and financially it's a hit to your pockets. Like even if you have a stable job and you have that good salary, you're still like to raise a child, they need everything. Like they need a lot, and you have to have it. You have to make sure that you're able to make your finances make it happen, especially if it's a need and not a want.
We need our parents to stop being poor mentally.
Did you feel like she was happy, but she didn't understand the total responsibilities? Because I think we in the black community.
For me, I know she knew the responsibility. Like out of all her friends, she's the only one that didn't have a baby yet. Like she just now having a baby. All of her friends and a lot of her family have kids already. So for me, telling her that was like I just said it to her because like it's one thing to be happy to have a baby, but it's another thing to mentally prepare that your life is going to change. And I think she's financial wise, that's not a problem. But it's like your life is about to change. You're gonna have a person that's dependent on you. Mm-hmm. That's sometimes it don't hit people until baby is here. You know what I'm saying? Like you can be pregnant. Oh, I'm pregnant, and then it's like, oh shit. Right. Like this is real. It's real.
Yeah, I think to piggyback on your sentiment is that the fact that there's more aspects and things that you have to think about when it comes to having children. It's more than just financial. It's more than just emotional. It's more than just psychological. It's more than just family changes. It's more. I mean, there's a lot of things, right? There's so many aspects that you have to look at. She, like you said, she might have been financially ready. She might have understood that there's a responsibility, but she doesn't understand the emotional, or she may not understand the change.
Yes,
there's other aspects to this when it comes to having kids. I know when I first had my first kid, well, not my first kid, but when I first became a parent, and I realized this was the thing that changed in my mind. It finally hit me, was that it was me and this woman that we got together, and we were, friends and lovers and having a great time. And, it's like, I know she had a kid, and I understood the responsibility part, and I had a great job. I understood the financial part. I had a godson that I helped take care of. So I kind of understood the emotional part. What I didn't see was the change in our relationship as we became a parent. I didn't understand that part. You know, I didn't
Stuff
see
got
that
real,
coming.
didn't it?
It got
real quick.
You know,
Yeah.
and it was like, and it was like a almost not a night and day, but it was a big change, right? Because when everybody's now involved in the responsibility and things are happening and you're doing this, that, and the other, and it's no longer just fun and games, right? You know, things like you said got real, and it also made you realize that there's more to it than just what you thought. You know,
and that's why I told her, like, she always said, we tired, we got a lot going on. It's because when you have a kid, you have, like, it's a like, you're always, you should be at least doing stuff. You should be, like, proactive in their lives, like, just every little thing, like, you know. And it's always interesting to watch somebody from the sidelines that doesn't have kids. But then when you have a kid, it's like, wow. And it always takes you, like, months down the road, or you're literally like, wow, you know, it really. You kept telling me, and I didn't understand, but now I do. Like, it's different, you know.
Mhm.
So and it's always.
You know what,
I always encourage her. She's gonna be an amazing mom, but I just wanted her to know that, like, it's all fun. Babies are cute, but, like, shit get, like, it's real.
Really real.
I agree with Willie.
I want to tell you all what Carl Jung said, and this is real quick. Carl Jung said that. The famous psychiatrist, he said that when you have children with someone, you forever, those two people who parent that child will be forever analyzing one another's integrity. And that was, I thought that was so deep, because it's true. You like he said, it got real. The relationship changed after they had the baby. Now they're looking at one another different. They're judging the integrity of one another. Are you going, the guy is saying, are you going to take care of my baby proper? I come over here, you know, the diaper hasn't been changed. Or, you know, you're not helping him with his homework. And, you know, I'm paying child support. I'm doing the best I can. I mean, you are forced to judge the integrity of the other person. All that cute, my boo, we booed up, I love you, that goes out the window, because now you have a life to take care of. And I want to say this. Have you guys thought about this? We don't understand as Black people that the school is not the primary educator of our children. That's secondary.
Oh, my God.
That's
secondary.
We talked about that
tell them
plenty
one
of
more
times.
time. Please tell them one more time.
We talked about that plenty of times.
We've got to understand, you, in addition to whatever little education that they're giving your children at the school, you have to top that. You have to give over and above that in order for your child to be well-rounded. You cannot rely on a teacher.
Or even prepared.
You cannot rely on curriculum. Right.
You
You've
should
got
be
to
educating
know
them,
what
period,
reading level.
and just go off of what's in school. A school is missing a lot of stuff. Like, they don't teach you how to be responsible financially. Like, you know, they don't teach you about, like, you need to talk to your kids. You need to talk to them about a lot more, and it's just crazy.
A lot of people rely on TV and school to do all their work as a parent instead of realizing that there's a lot that you have to do. You have to be a proper example. You have to teach your kids. You have to talk to your kids, give them good life lessons. You have to give them life skills. You have to give them some additional education. I mean, when my older kids are coming up, you know, they were in a school system where I thought it was a great school system, but there were still some shortcomings. And so we bought books that was like, you know, what your whatever grader should know, your fifth grader should know, and there was so much extra stuff in there. So we had to teach them that, and we had to get them more prepared for life, you know. Do
you see that? Yes.
You know,
yes.
It's essential.
You had to do a lot more work.
Mm-hmm.
You were required to do over and above, and I think we as a community, we're not mindful of that. Mm-hmm. It's not just that you brought this baby into manifestation, these two people. There's a whole lot of work to do. Like I said, you got to put your dreams on a shelf. And I know people will say, oh, that's so negative. No, that's righteous. Mm-hmm. Because now the baby comes first. The child comes first. And if you don't put that child first, then you're going to have some problems trying to put yourself ahead of the necessities that the child needs. So I'm saying, when can we make it cool to be a virgin, male and female? A man that is 25 years old and a virgin, we should chip in and give him a stipend. Matter of fact, I'm just, I'm just dreaming here, but I'm saying if he could go that long and be a virgin, we need to recognize brothers like that.
In reality, I agree with you, and I feel like those of us who think like that, who are like-minded like you and I, that's what we should preach to our daughters, our sons, our brothers, our younger brothers. That's why I tell my younger brothers too. But in the reality of the situation, like, we already know what type of society we in. You feel me? We done stated plenty of times, they gonna have sex. Some of them, most of them. We can save a few. We can talk a few out of it, but it's not gonna happen. So the best thing we can do as parents is prepare them for the consequences. You feel me? Like, I'm with you. You feel me? That's the stuff I'm preaching to my daughter. Like I said, stuff I told my little sisters, my little brothers. I told them the exact same thing. You feel me? But at the end of the day, I got one sister who, like, she ain't beat. I got another sister, she strict as hell with how she handle hers. I ain't having no baby, you know what I mean? I had another sister who, she had a baby when she was a teenager. You know what I mean? And she the most stable out of us all. You know what I mean? Go figure. You feel me?
But she is not the average. She is
that's
above
what I'm saying.
average.
That's what I'm
in her mental. You see what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying as well. You feel me? It's at the end of the day, all we can do is save those who we can save. You know what I mean? That's where I'm at with it. Because you can't save everybody. No matter how righteous your intentions are, like, nah, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
But if you can save a good number, then you're doing a great thing. Do you,
what's
you
the
as
number,
a man,
though?
You as a man, let me ask you this. My oldest sister's son, right? He is almost worshipped by the rest of the young men in my family because all kind of beautiful women are always, trying to get with him. And we were talking one night, and he said the strangest thing. We said, well, how do you pull all these women? What do you say? He says, what I do is, he says, I don't touch them. He says, I don't touch them. And he says, after around the third date, when they realize that I'm not going to be, filling them all up and touching all over them, he said it happens every time. I kid you not. He said they, for some reason, become so into me. You know what I'm saying? And then one of my uncles told him, he said, you know what? I think he's right. Because the challenge is, for women, is he really into me? He's not doing what I'm accustomed to. So I said all that to say a lot of brothers need to understand just because you're not having sex don't mean you won't get the attention and attraction of women. You may get it even stronger because they realize you're not about all that. You see what I'm saying? What do you think?
Right.
Yeah, that's you feel me? That's been tried and true for years.
I mean, I was about to say, actually, it's actually a strategy. I mean, it's really, truly a strategy that some guys use. I mean, and
my boys talk about that since high school. Like, bro, don't say no. Just act like you ain't interested.
Oh, Lord.
Work every time. Work every time.
But
I'm not gonna say if that worked on me or not, but it may or may not.
You're gonna sit back and nod. But
I'm not going to. It's go out like
that. So you're not gonna agree nor disagree that works.
Yeah, I'm not. I plead the fourth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. What? Yeah, I plead
right.
But the end justifies the means.
Yeah, that's one thing I explained to my sisters as well. You see, one thing and we had a show on this about who's smarter. We was really man or woman, but we was really joking or whatever. But like the one thing that I always like, I tell my sister, like these dudes out here slick. You feel me? Like, excuse my term, but niggas know how to play dumb well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't get it confused. Niggas know how to play dumb very well, just to peep game. You know what I mean? So you have to be aware. You know what I mean? Like any old dude, you may think he different, and he just the same.
Amen.
You know what I mean? So like don't get it twisted out here. You know what I mean? It's savages out here. That's why I say like we're at a point in time to where there's no really it's a point of no return.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I mean, that's something we have to accept. We have to accept.
You are so right.
And once we accept that, then we can act accordingly. And that's why I say it's like I agree 100% with everything you're saying, Sapphire. I don't have no argument with you at all. But at the end of the day, you know what I mean? We know, like, you just fight the good fight to the end. You feel me? Save who you can save.
Right.
You know what I mean? Reach who you can reach. You know, some of these people lost forever. Some of these people don't even know they lost, and they like it like that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we need to continue to preach and push and put it out there, the things that are essential to be, you know, to be successful in this life. And like Sapphire mentioned, like you mentioned, Clint, I think some you mentioned too. You know, there's all these different things that we have to keep in mind between, you know, financial responsibility, emotional responsibility, being a community, you know, and understanding the other aspects of what it takes to be a parent. That's our solution. I mean, really, I mean, that you know, it's not the whole solution, but that's part of the solution, is we have to push that agenda. You know, it has to become an agenda. It has to become part of how we operate, you know, as a people, you know, be it a black people, be it people in general. However it needs to be grown, it needs to be pushed and needs to be the standard, right? I think, Sapphire, you said earlier, is like, you know, it's not to take things away from certain people or make them feel like, you know, they're less, but it's like, hey, if you don't get with this program, you are less. You are the enemy. You are the enemy if you don't get with this program and understand what needs to happen and what needs to take place, because then you're hindering or hurting either the child or the community. Because think about that. You know, if we're raising broken children and we're raising damaged people, they grow up to become damaged adults, and they are working the same jobs that we're working. They're the same professionals that we are. You know, just because you got beat as a child or sexually abused or halfway killed doesn't mean you can't grow up to be somebody's doctor, or you can't grow up to be somebody's lawyer or somebody's judge, right? You know, and then you start taking those emotional things out on the public, right? You know, there's things that happen to people that, you know, we can't fathom. You know, I did community work. I did some community work for an organization in Detroit that takes care of children's emotional and psychological needs. They do autism awareness and take care of children with autism. They take care of children of abuse. They take care of children in broken homes, families as well, and family situations. They deal with those things. And so they have this whole program where you go through and you talk to different people. And I mean, there was this young lady, beautiful young lady, very articulate, very what's the word I want to use? She like, you can feel how intelligent and with it she was, you know what I mean? Just talking to her. Girl couldn't have been more than like 15, 16 years old, you know, but you could tell she was going somewhere, you know. And the horrors, I mean, the absolute horror that she described to us. I mean, it makes me want to tear up right now just knowing what that young lady went through as a child all the way up until the time she became a teenager. I couldn't fathom that she would still turn out to be this young lady ready for the world. You know, she's ready to graduate from high school early, at 15 or 16. She's ready to, you know, she has a dream of what she wants to be, what she wants to do with her life. I think she wanted to be an entrepreneur. She had a whole, I mean, not a business plan, but she had a plan already kind of laid out. I mean, that's how ready this girl was. She had been through such tragedy in her life that luckily for her, she had a system that was in place that was able to help her. But just think that there's people who still can get it together like that, but then are still broken, right? She's getting the help she needs, but there's people who aren't, and they're still just making it, and they're getting into these situations, and then they're damaging the community. You know what I mean? They may be your bus driver. They may be, the guy that's about to fix your teeth, or whatever the case may be. They're everyday people, and that's what we got to think about, that we have to raise these children in such a way that they can become, not only functional members of society, but good functional members of society, and be able to not crack, and kill their whole family, and drive them off a cliff and all kinds of craziness like that, or dress them up like little girls when they should be little boys, and doing emotionally damaging stuff like that. So
I'm great.
And we in the after show?
Yes, we are.
In the after show.
Yes, we are. I kind of want to bring up
about the
before we go on. Huh?
Bring up the number again.
No, I want to bring up that it's Autism Awareness Month. And I'm going to need y'all to go check out our podcast from last year about autism awareness. That cause is near and dear to my heart. My baby Xavier is 5 years old, and he's autistic. He is way much far along the journeys of success than he was last year. So I'm excited, and I'm happy to see his progression thus far. But I want to honor the parents that are dealing with autistic children, regardless of the level of the autism. Encourage people to find out more about autism, because, I was talking to somebody the other day, and you realize that people know a lot more about mental illness and mental health and depression and things like that, but autism has been around just as long, and people still aren't educated enough on autism. So I implore you guys to look up autism. Just type it in the Google search or the Chrome search or whatever you guys use, and just get some knowledge on what type of diagnosis, how they are diagnosed, like what autism is, the different levels. So when you're out and about and you see these parents with these kids, and you just immediately assume that they have a bad kid, as the signs of autism, and you're a little bit more patient, because a lot of people are not patient. They have no tolerance for it, and they don't know how to handle it. So they just assume that you just have a bad kid, and they react differently. And as a parent, I don't like going around saying, "Oh, he's autistic." I don't have time for that. So I implore you to educate yourselves.
Yeah, that perfectly ties in with the subject tonight. That perfectly ties in with because, and then what we were talking about, parenting and being ready to parent, because that's something,
That's a hard thing to deal with.
Like I said on the show before, like I give you credit because, to me, you got the right temperament for it. So I always look at myself first. Like, that'd be challenging for me to be put in that position. You feel me, with that right there? And even like I can go as far with my younger sister. She has sickle cell. Mm-hmm. You feel me? And she always through her life, she's been going through crisis. My mom had to deal with that with her. You feel me? Like, those are things. When you talk about becoming a parent, you feel me? Like, you don't chalk up, you don't account for.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? You don't account for. So, like we were saying, mentally, you don't even know if you're mentally ready to deal with that.
Because I was prepared to have him this time. That's why I said it, and I was talking to Sapphire, and I was telling her, like, with my second child, I was prepared all the way around as far as I was concerned. And then, like, he was doing well up until his diagnosis, and then I kind of knew, like, the change in his behavior. And was I prepared for that? Absolutely not. But I took it by the reins, and I ran that. I've been running with that shit since then. And it's hard. Like, I don't think people understand as a parent how, like, because it's a lot, like, you don't know. It's different levels of it. And I'm thankful that he's not so far gone that it's hard to teach him. I'm glad that we called it earlier. And as a parent, to acknowledge it, accept it, because a lot of people don't want their kids diagnosed or can't handle the diagnosis. And they just let their kids just go off the wayside, and they don't step in and do what needed to be done for your kid, because it's a lot. I have somebody in my house 4 days a week for 20 hours in the week. He has various appointments he has to go to. I don't know what type of mood he's going to be in when he wakes up. I don't know if it's going to be a good day. If he's having a good day, what's going to set him off? No idea. And then he can't really, like, he's talking to me, but he can't have a full conversation with me. So I don't know. It's a lot that he can't communicate. And although he's smart intellectually, he's missing social skills, stuff that most kids take for granted he can't do. So, and as a parent, that's hard. And I don't think that people give or understand what parents with not just autistic kids, but any disabled child deals with. It is stressful, especially if you don't have support. If you don't have support, something like that, it's hard because you're doing it all by yourself. You need to vent. You need to have time for yourself. And there's programs that help you, but I'm talking about outside of the program. I'm talking about family members and friends that help, you know? So
right.
How old was he
when
he was diagnosed? If you don't mind me asking.
Diagnosed. No, I talked about it on the other show too. He was diagnosed right before he turned 3, and it was because, and I just explained it to somebody else. I said he was talking, feeding himself, and potty and learning at the beginning stages of potty training where he was going and it was successful, and then he regressed. And I watched my child that talked and said my daughter's name, which is not an easy name to say. He said her name all the time he talked. And now he's not feeding himself. He wasn't doing anything anymore. And I kind of I went to the doctor and I was asking what's going on. He said some kids do regress, but he said if I come to the next doctor appointment, he's not talking, I'm going to evaluate him. And he evaluated him and he said, well, I can't medically call it. We got to take him elsewhere. Let's see if he can hear because he wasn't talking anymore. So they were checking his hearing. He passed his hearing test. So I took him to a neurologist, and that's who diagnosed him. And that was very hard for me to hear and hard for me to process.
I want to ask you this. How do you feel about parents who are speaking out, saying that their children have been exposed to this manifestation of autism or spectrum, one of the aspects of the spectrum of autism, after being inoculated with, you know where I'm going with this.
Yes, I absolutely, because I that's the first thing people ask me. Oh, well, did you do this, and this? Here's the thing. When you look at, this is why I tell people to research it for yourself. Because, yes, there are studies that people say that it's due to the vaccinations, right? They say it's because of vaccinations, this one, right? Okay, so first of all, I don't have Medicaid. I have real insurance. So that's one thing. And not to say that people with Medicaid, because when you get vaccinated, they ask you what type of insurance you have. You know what I'm saying? Like they want to know the doctor should know what type of insurance you have because certain vaccinations are available quicker for you than it is for somebody that's on Medicaid, which is crazy, but it is like that. But on top of that, when you look at autism is aligned with seizure disorder, which I have in my family. Epilepsy is real. On top of that, because I look at it like this from a standpoint of this situation. This is why I take it from me personally for him because each case is different. In my family, we also have people suffer from different ailments of mental illness, right? So when you have a kid that's in a family that is in the family line to have a mental issue, a mental health issue, also seizures and things like that, they're more susceptible to have a learning disability. But they do have tests where you can go and test your child to see. You know, they have different programs. They run tests. They're trying to see what causes autism because people say very different things. But it depends because if you can go and say this test didn't affect your child, this test, I think it varies. But when I talk to neurologists, because they ask you, when I went to his appointment when he got diagnosed, she talked to me for maybe about 45 minutes, and she asked me she went down my family history of everything. So you have any history of diabetes, blah blah blah. She's going through the whole thing, right? And then for the next hour and 30 minutes, she's dealing with him by himself. Like I'm there, but she's just dealing with him, testing the different things, seeing what he can do, seeing what he's having issues with, things like that. But she told me, like, when I talked to her, and I talked to somebody else too, it could be that like I had my sister, one of my sisters had a learning delay too. So you look at it from the family history, you know.
Right.
Sometimes
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Sometimes when kids have those types of things going on, they're more susceptible to have that. Not that they will. Not that they will, but they do because you know autism is like a brain issue. I have seizures. My brother had seizures. My dad had seizures. So it's like, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, can I jump in real quick?
Here's the reason. I wanted to tell her. Here's the reason I asked that question, because I read the study 2 years ago, and it was done outside the American academia, these institutions, and this was a 12-year study, and they said that there are elements within the inoculations, especially mumps, measles, and rubella. Right. There's a level of mercury. In addition to that, there are chemicals in there that especially affect melanin and testosterone, and they were finding that black boys are more susceptible to autism as a result of these chemicals.
But see, on the same token, if you look at the study as national, not just by color, there's more boys that are autistic than there are girls. Period. And if you look at the numbers,
exactly.
It's like I found out one of my friend's daughter has it, and one of my coworkers' granddaughter has it, and it's so rare for a girl to be autistic without any other mental or any other learning issue. It's very rare. But you look at it like this, okay? So if it's the shots, right, and if it's just solely the shots, like people want to believe, then look at it like that. Then all the kids are getting the shots. Most of them. You have to get the shots to go to school for the majority. That means almost every kid should have it, right? But if you look at it with the shot now, if it is the shot is in conjunction with the family history of mental illness and things like that, maybe I can see that. But you can't. But I'm not. For me personally, I'm not going to believe that it's just the shot.
That's why I want to jump in. That's why I want to jump in, because that's why I ride the fence on that on those studies, because I've seen from both sides. You know, I know, like personally, I've talked to that had autistic son that they didn't do the inoculation because they didn't have that requirement, and for the so they have.
Well, are you going in and out?
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So they chose not to do it, and their kids had autism, right? Now, there was autism in their family as well, and so they kind of attributed it to that, but
fading in and out, bro.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't hear him either. But I get what he's saying. Like, it has to be more than just the shots. Like, it may be because of the shots, and if you have a precondition in your family line. Yeah, it makes you more.
You know what? That makes sense.
Getting it. Because it's like I said, when she was giving it to me, like, even when we did a health show a while back, and Clint talked about sarcoidosis. I think Kenya talked about MS, and I talked about autism. When I was looking up autism, like I said, because I've been researching since my son been diagnosed, it's aligned with it's also in line with seizures. Some autistic kids have seizures as well. I'm an epileptic, so is my brother, so is my dad's half of the whole family on my dad's side has epilepsy issues. I had seizures since I was a baby. So when I'm reading that and I'm seeing it, it's like because I know when I used to have seizures every day, and not the chicken kind. I used to have what was called the
Grand Mal.
No, not Grand Mal, because I didn't shake. I didn't have a shaking seizure until I was an adult, or I had a shaking seizure when I was a baby, and when I got to my toddler age, I had what was called. They thought I was blacking out, but they realized that I was having an actual seizure, and I would stay there for hours, like in a trance, and hear everything, but I couldn't respond for hours. And then one time I slept all weekend, having a seizure all weekend. And the thing with them was they were worried because of how I was having them, how long I was having them. They were trying to put me in central bed because they were worried it was going to mess up my brain function. I wasn't going to be able to do stuff on my own for the longest. But
how
I
are
still
you now?
At school. I'm okay. Like I haven't had a seizure. I haven't had a seizure in like 2 years. But like I know that, like, but that's what I'm saying. Like I know that. So now, like I worry about my kids because they can have. I know they can have seizures at any time. I had them all my life. People say you grow out of them. I haven't grown out of them. I just don't have them as often as I did. But like when you look at that and I look at the mental illness of my family, it makes more sense. That it's more of if it is the shot, it's also in conjunction with it. He already had these other issues.
The predisposition, yeah. I think it's like one of those things, and that's another reason I think people are affected by it differently as well. I think it's one of those things. There's multiple factors I think that are involved because I think it could be,
and that's why you can't figure it out.
I think it could be a combination of the lead and paint. It could be the mercury and vaccines. It could be the predisposition due to the seizure thing or the mental health. It could be a bunch of different things, and it just becomes a cocktail for a situation for a particular person, and this is how they end up. And we don't know. But I've read the studies too about the vaccines, and they're compelling. And it's very compelling to think that. And even regardless of the autism, there was something. I'm trying to remember what it was. There was one of the. There was another thing that's caused by the vaccines. We can get into vaccines all day.
Yeah.
But there was like these other physical issues that you could have behind that later on in life, and it makes you think like, what are they really putting into our bodies? Testing for these different diseases. But it's getting about that time.
Before we close, I do want to say this before we close. I think that, and I know that the research, they're trying to figure out what is happening, and they're trying to figure it out from when you're pregnant. Because the earlier you know as a parent what to prepare for. But they're trying to get it from while you're pregnant, while you're pregnant. Trying to figure out if your child is autistic, that way they can, so that way they can catch it and show you already from the gate. This is how you got to teach a child how to learn. Period. Mm-hmm. But I'm hoping that the research kicks in.
Before we hang up, I need to say this to you. Your children have a great mom. They are so lucky.
Thank you.
Yes, they do.
I try, but it's a hard task, but I do try. But I definitely want to wrap this show.
I hear the energy in you.
Yeah, it's serious. You gotta know. You gotta know what's going on with your kids, and you gotta research and find out for yourself, and you gotta do what you gotta do. There's a lot of programs out there that help people that people don't realize. So you gotta look and find out and ask questions all the time, always. But we definitely about to wrap this show. I don't want to cut us off while we're doing this. Thank you, Sapphire, for calling in. We appreciate you as always.
Thank you so much, Sapphire.
Always
Amazing.
Stay tuned in.
Thank
always
you.
I
love y'all.
Thank you.
Y'all make me better every time I talk to you.
Thank you. Y'all got y'all information before we roll out quickly?
Y'all can hit me up on my blog at kingstruth.com. Hit me up on Twitter at eTrentonGroomy. That's about it. Holla at you.
Yeah, it's your boy Willie Styles. Hit me up at Willie Styles everywhere. STYLEZ. WillieStyles.info for all my links. Hit me up.
And of course, I am Sunny _D. Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. Unreservedly Me is the website that you can find me. Thank you guys for listening to tonight. Check out our website, gftradioshow.com, for all our links.
Oh, and don't
Good
forget,
night,
ask Google or ask Alexa to play our podcast, the GFT Radio Show, and they'll play your podcast for you.
Yes.
We're now on the assistant, so hit us up.
All right now. Bye, guys.